I unmistakably encountered incredibly strange footprints imprinted deep within the freshly fallen snow, leading directly into the dense, ominous woods behind my isolated house late last night. And I immediately knew something was profoundly wrong with their impossibly large, unnatural size, chilling me deeply to the core. My logical brain tried to rationalize them as bear tracks, but the spacing and an undeniable, unsettling human-like stride defied any conventional explanation, pulling me towards an inexplicable, morbid curiosity that felt dangerously strong. The silence of the winter morning was unnerving, amplifying every snap of twigs and crunch of snow as I cautiously ventured deeper, a cold dread seeping into my bones despite the early hours' deceptive calm. I clutched my phone tightly, its flashlight beam a pathetic defense against the encroaching gloom, as the towering skeletal trees seemed to close in, their barren branches forming a skeletal canopy above me.
The forest transformed rapidly, becoming darker and eerier with each deliberate step, the ground growing uneven, adorned with strangely disturbed patches of earth where snow had mysteriously melted away entirely. A faint, almost imperceptible scent of something metallic and faintly sweet, like old dried blood, wafted intermittently on the frigid air, stirring a primal fear within my gut instinctually. The footprints continued with relentless precision, never deviating, never faltering, leading straight into a section of the forest renowned locally for its unsettling, decades-old tales of disappearances and unexplained phenomena. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the overwhelming quietude, urging me to retreat, while simultaneously an unseen force compelled me further into the deepening, sinister labyrinth.
Suddenly, the tracks ended abruptly at the base of an ancient, gnarled oak tree, its vast trunk hollowed out into a dark, gaping maw, emitting an incredibly disturbing low hum I could almost feel. A strange, almost ritualistic arrangement of small, polished river stones formed a perfect circle at the hollow's entrance, radiating an intense, palpable cold that was far colder than the surrounding winter air. I leaned closer, peering into the unnatural darkness, when a whisper, faint and dry like rustling leaves, seemed to emanate from the profound depths, uttering an unfamiliar name that sounded vaguely distorted. My breath hitched in my throat, a wave of profound terror washing over me as I scrambled backward, feeling an undeniable, unseen presence watching intensely from within the impenetrable blackness of the tree.
The humming intensified, growing into a low, resonant thrum that vibrated through the very ground beneath my frozen feet, making my teeth chatter involuntarily from the sheer, overwhelming dread. A sickly sweet smell, now much stronger, assaulted my nostrils, like an overdose of jasmine mixed with decay, making my stomach churn violently with a sense of profound, immediate danger. I saw a fleeting, indistinct movement deep inside the hollow, a shape far too large and awkwardly bent to be any natural animal, quickly disappearing back into the deeper, horrifying shadows. Panic seized me entirely. Every fiber of my being screamed to run, to escape this nightmare, but my legs felt impossibly heavy, rooted to the frozen, cursed ground with a desperate, paralyzing fear.
A guttural growl, deep and horrifyingly primal, echoed from within the oak's cavernous void, shaking the very air and sending shivers of pure, unadulterated terror down my trembling spine. I finally broke free from my trance, turning to flee, but a cold, heavy hand seemed to brush my shoulder with an impossible weight, leaving behind an icy, lingering imprint. I I didn't dare look back, just sprinted blindly through the dense undergrowth, branches whipping violently at my face. A desperate, animalistic cry tearing involuntarily from my burning, strained lungs. The forest seemed to twist and turn around me, disorienting my escape route, the menacing shadows lengthening impossibly, appearing to reach out like skeletal fingers, attempting to drag me back.
I heard ragged, heavy breathing remarkably close behind me, a deep, raspy sound that made the hair stand up on my neck, confirming my absolute worst, most terrifying fears. Bursting out into the relative safety of my backyard felt like waking from a torturous, vivid nightmare, gasping for breath, soaked in cold sweat, with the chilling memory irrevocably imprinted upon my soul. I bolted the doors, pulled all the curtains tight, and huddled in my living room, the memory of that unspeakable horror in the woods, burning like a terrifying brand within my soul. I still see those unnatural footprints whenever the snow falls, knowing something ancient and profoundly evil lurks just beyond my property line, eternally waiting for another curious, unsuspecting soul.
I never thought much about the old, forgotten path behind our rural property until I saw those peculiar, barefoot imprints pressed deeply into the damp earth, utterly defying the freezing temperatures and thick forest floor. They weren't animal tracks. These were distinctly human, yet unnervingly large and oddly spaced, leading directly into the ancient, overgrown woods, where local legends spoke of strange disappearances and eerie, whispering voices. A morbid fascination, mixed with a chilling sense of dread, compelled me forward despite my better judgment, the unsettling quiet of the morning amplifying my rapidly beating, anxious heart. The air grew perceptibly colder as I ventured deeper, even though the sun was rising, and a pervasive, earthy smell, like overturned soil mixed with something profoundly stagnant, filled my senses overpoweringly.
Old, decrepit trees with twisted, decaying branches formed a dense, suffocating canopy overhead, effectively blocking out most of the weak morning light, plunging the path into an oppressive, perpetual twilight. I noticed small, crudely carved wooden effigies hanging from some branches, their hollow eyes seeming to follow my progress, creating an unsettling feeling of being constantly watched by unseen, malevolent entities. The footprints continued, never veering, always perfectly centered on the narrow, barely discernible trail, as if whoever made them possessed an unnatural, unwavering sense of direction in this confusing place. My apprehension morphed into genuine fear when I heard it for the first time. A faint, almost inaudible whispering, seemingly emanating from all around me, yet without any identifiable source at all.
The whispers grew in intensity, forming unintelligible, overlapping murmurs that sounded like a congregation of spectral voices, their collective sound a chilling, insidious chorus that promised unspeakable horrors. I pressed on, my curiosity now a terrifying, self-destructive compulsion, the forest itself seeming to press in, its shadowy depths revealing strange, distorted shapes among the thick, suffocating foliage. The path opened into a small, desolate clearing, dominated by a circle of ancient, moss-covered standing stones, each one emanating a palpable, unsettling aura of immense age and unimaginable, dark power. The barefoot prints stopped abruptly at the circle's edge, but inside the ring, the ground was disturbed, freshly churned earth revealing glimpses of something pale and bone-like beneath the surface, horrifyingly.
The whispering intensified dramatically here, no longer faint,
but a terrifying, distinct cacophony of individual voices calling out my given name from every direction, piercing my terrified mind. My vision blurred, the trees seeming to spin around me as a wave of intense nausea washed over my body, a desperate primal instinct screaming at me to immediately turn and flee this cursed place. I saw a shadow detach itself from one of the standing stones, a tall, gaunt figure with long, impossibly slender limbs, slowly stepping out of the profound darkness and into the dim light. Its head was tilted unnaturally, an empty, gaping maw where a face should be, emanating an unholy, ancient chill that penetrated deep into my very soul, freezing me completely in raw terror.
It began to move towards me, its movements jerky and unnatural, each silent step echoing in the profound stillness. A silent, terrifying predator slowly closing the impossible, crushing distance between us. The whispers coalesced into a single, deafening shriek that tore through the air, causing me to stumble backward, finally breaking the terrifying spell that had held me paralyzed in its grip. I turned and ran, not bothering to follow the path, crashing wildly through the underbrush, the creature's chilling, rattling breaths now alarmingly close behind my desperately fleeing, terrified form. Branches clawed at my face and arms, but I felt nothing but the desperate need to escape this living nightmare, my lungs burning, heart pounding, utterly consumed by a profound, paralyzing fear.
I burst from the tree line, collapsing onto my own backyard lawn, gasping for breath, the suffocating, terrifying whispers still echoing intensely within my mind, an indelible mark of pure horror. I never looked back at the forest, but I hear those whispers on windy nights, forever haunted by what I saw lurking in its depths, knowing I barely escaped a truly unspeakable fate. The fear became a constant companion, a chilling presence that whispers warnings from the dark corners of my mind, reminding me of that gaunt figure and its empty, horrific, staring maw. Now the forest edge feels like a watchful, malevolent entity, its dark embrace perpetually waiting to reclaim me, and I avoid even glancing at the tree line, forever bound by terror.